Fans Forum.
Okay, here we go. Let's go to John. Tampa beating Philly surprised me more than Green Bay beating Dallas.
The only issue I had with Green Bay going in, how really young they were. Was the stage too big for Jordan Love and those 3 wide receivers? I couldn't believe my eyes how bad Dallas's secondary played. There were guys running open all night, and how bad the tackling was. And I was stunned, as electric as Dak Prescott has been through the second half of the season. He overshot guys. He looked tentative. It was like Green Bay did some things defensively they never, ever expected. So Tampa beating Philly. Philly had that thing jammed into reverse defensively, and Baker Mayfield has been red hot since the middle of the season. He's got 32 touchdown passes now. So I guess I wasn't shocked. And Jalen Hurts didn't have one receiver. His running game has disappeared on him since about the middle of the season. So I could see Tampa possibly pulling an ambush there. But Green Bay's kids winning in Dallas surprised me.
Yeah, it surprised me too, but it made me really happy to see Dallas just get slammed again and continue to choke on all the drama surrounding Jerry Jones. But, in the Tampa-Philly game, I kept thinking Philly was going to figure it out. They were going to regress back to the mean and end that 1-6 skid. But, while I rooted for Baker Mayfield, my mind said they're going to figure it out, the Eagles, but they never did.
Especially in the back end. They were really poor, too. Okay, next question.
Okay, let's go here to Roberto. And he says, do you really believe Jim Harbaugh to the Chargers?
They interviewed him for 4+ hours yesterday. He is the only one that has had a face-to-face interview. All the other coaches, including 4 African-American assistants, all interviewed on Zoom, because the NFL now has a different calendar as to when you can actually start to meet face-to-face with guys. So the Chargers have done everything under the league guideline. They've interviewed hot coordinators. They've interviewed minority coordinators. So now they've signed off on the Rooney Rule, and they interviewed Harbaugh. Now, I believe Harbaugh is going to be in Las Vegas for a face-to-face maybe before the end of the week with Mark Davis. We'll see if anybody else takes a run at Harbaugh. Harbaugh is continuing to negotiate with Michigan. Let me throw this at you because I got this from somebody in the Big Ten. There's a rumbling out there that Harbaugh is enthralled with staying in Ann Arbor at $12.5 million. Harbaugh wants, get this, an immunity clause put into his contract. He must be a Trumper.
Yeah, I think so.
Harbaugh wants an immunity clause that if the NCAA cracks down on Michigan for the COVID violations and nails them, the NCAA cannot force him to be fired. Now, I don't know that does Michigan go to the Supreme Court? Michigan going to say, we follow NCAA rules. We're not going to follow that rule. So I don't know if the immunity clause has any validity at all, but that's the rumor out of Ann Arbor that is part of the talks. And I don't know how Michigan can give that to him. So what do you think is going to happen to Harbaugh?
Well, everything says the Chargers make sense, but I think Pete Carroll going there could be a good move as well. It's interesting, by the way. I look at your best 15 in sports every day, and you could see the laundry list of all the players that are going through the interview process. And there's a lot of them that are cycling through. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Harbaugh makes sense. But this whole thing, immunity, the law doesn't apply to me. It sounds like what we're hearing in politics. So it's nuts. I can't imagine Michigan agreeing to that deal because you have to have a third group. The NCAA would have to be part of that negotiation. And there's no way they're going to give Harbaugh immunity.
He might stay at Ann Arbor, but he might go to the Chargers. And the fact that they've interviewed, I think it's eight assistants now, mm-hmm. plus the face-to-face with Harbaugh, leads me to believe it might be his job if he wants, if they don't remove Dad, thanks for the job, John Spanos, as the president of football operations, because Harbaugh wants the freedom to bring his own people in and layer them in the player personnel department. And is, thanks Dad, going to agree to that?
Well, I think thanks Dad might become a figurehead, and that would be better for the Chargers.
Okay, carry on.
Carrying on. Let's go to 4RXLA. Hey, LA Kings are 1-8 in 2024. What is your opinion as to how they're going to play in the second half?
It's hard to believe with all that firepower up front, they're not blowing people out. It's also hard to believe, get this, LA, they have a better road record than they have at home ice. It's phenomenal.
Weird.
I think the Kings have 13 wins on the road, and they have only 7 or 8 wins at home. You know, we talked in the summer when they made the trade for Pierre-Luc Dubois to come from Winnipeg, and a huge deal that this is going to put him over the top. Outside of the first week of the season, he hadn't done anything. I think he's got 8 goals right now. 8 goals in half a season, making $8 million per year. I talked to guys in Winnipeg. I said, "Do you want him back? Can you take him back?" Because he is really underachieved. They're just not scoring on a consistent basis. Awful lot of pressure on Cam Talbot, a journeyman goalie. They lost the other goalie, the hot young minor leaguer, Phoenix Copley. He's gone for the year with surgery. They're just not a complete team. Now, they're still in the upper echelon of Pacific Division because of the great start, but we'll see if they turn the corner. They got to turn the corner. If this isn't a deep run in the postseason in May and June, I'm going to be upset. Rob Blake's going to be upset.
Doesn't this feel like the Philadelphia Eagles?
Yeah.
You know, getting off to that great start and now going through this terrible slump. So I don't know what to expect here. But just to switch gears a little, I saw in the best 15 that Connor Bedard is coming back, right?
He's just started practicing.
Or excuse me, not Bedard, the Ducks player.
Leo Carlson.
Leo Carlson.
He got activated. They're both back.
Mm-hmm.
Connor Bedard, the number 1 pick in the draft, is practicing with special face gear to protect the fractured jaw. I don't think he's ready to go back in game action yet.
Mm-hmm.
Leo Carlson was just activated yesterday. Ducks are on a long road trip, and you know he's probably as good a rookie as there is his first year in the NHL. I think he scored 8 goals before he went down with kind of a fluke sprained knee. He is now back on the ice and probably will play once they come off this road trip at home.
Right on. Moving on. Let's go to Dale. Despite the loss, McVay is the coach of the year, took a team with tons of rookies and made playoffs when preseason picked him in the bottom 5.
Concur, but the guy in Houston, I think, has to be the coach of the year. What DeMeco Ryans has done with a rookie quarterback and a bunch of street free agents, that's pretty impressive. You look at every one of their skill guys. Nobody knew who some of these guys were, the Nico Collinses of the world. And I knew who Devin Singletary was, but he had done nothing in Buffalo. And these guys are having mystical seasons with the kid quarterback, and then they just plugged in. All these free agents have done just a great, great job. So as cool as McVay's bounce back season was, DeMeco Ryans' team has got 11 wins, and they're still playing next week, and that's amazing.
Well, I think Steve actually saw this one coming. He said, I think DeMeco Ryans has done with the Texans is very impressive. So everyone recognizes that. I mean, it's incredible what they've accomplished there in Houston, who's been football starved in the NFL for so long.
And they've lost now 2 of their top 3 wide receivers because Noah Brown just went down with a shoulder injury last week, surgery. He's gone for the year. They had Tank Dell, who had been a starter and had a good first half of the season, opposite Nico Collins. Tank Dell left at midseason with surgery, not coming back now. Noah Brown's not coming back. So they're kind of running out of players.
Yeah, well, and it seems like that's a common theme, all these injuries.
Most part.
Okay, moving on. Let's go to Tom. He says, Dallas didn't choke. They got blown out. Even the Chargers didn't ever get blown out when favored. They would choke and somehow lose when they shouldn't have. Not sure what is worse.
I wonder what Jerry Jones does. You know, he is not young. I mean, you look at him close up, he does not look to be in really good health.
Mm-hmm.
And he's tried so hard. He's one of the great owners in the league. You may not like the persona. You may not like all the stuff that comes with being in Big D. Look at the player personnel acquisitions. They've done a really good job. How good an organization is Dallas? Will Clay, who's the director of player personnel, supposed to interview for all the GM jobs in the league, took his name out of the hopper. He's going to stay. He's going to continue to work for Jerry Jones. He might well be the general manager of the future going forward, or maybe actually the player personnel decision maker. But yeah, Dallas just got ambushed, and we'll just have to see whether Mike McCarthy survives it. I think he does, because Jerry's history is to be very patient with guys.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you know, it's interesting how after the game they interviewed Jerry Jones in front of the locker room, and all the media is around him, and he said it was the biggest shock that he's ever experienced in his whole football career. And I kind of concur.
And they didn't look like they were ready to play, like they were amped to play.
Right.
How do you not come out at home and play with an edge to your game? And I mean, it was a shocker to me. I just shook my head and said, how is this possible?
Yeah, and Dak Prescott didn't look very impressive. He was off target a lot. I mean, gotten into a little bit of a chirping with CD Lamb, I remember, in one of the parts of the game.
Well, Lamb got taken out of the game emotionally very early. I mean, they played with Lamb's mind.
Yeah, the whole thing was just a cluster for the Cowboys.
On we go.
On we go. Let's go to Gary. He says, Kim is about the only guy that shows up every day. Are they, the Padres, nuts?
I hate to think of this as a salary dump because that's a really bad message to all the people that bought season ticket holders. That's a big issue. They've got a financial issue this year. They're going to have a financial issue next year because this TV money thing is a big storyline there. Not having $60 million per season in TV revenue, which is why this payroll is going down under 200 now. But that's a really good player. Why don't you keep them? See if you stay in the pennant race for the whole season. See if all the other big money guys have bounce back seasons, and you can keep your 2 veteran pitchers healthy. But it sure looks like an $8 million salary dump to me. And you got the Cronenworth $10 million contract you might be trying to move. That's a bad sign, unless I'm reading the tea leaves differently. But I have this strange intuition about how they do their business.
Well, things have changed without Peter Seidler.
Exactly.
So there's a new guy running the ship. So he's a business guy. So he's probably looking at the bottom line numbers.
And the bottom line includes, by the way, you owe Rob Manfred $40 million luxury tax bill.
That's right.
That's due in January 21st.
But yeah, trading Ha-Seong Kim would be a punch in the nose to the fan base.
I agree. Carry on here.
Carrying on. Let's go to Lawrence here. He says, great to see you both. The Padres need to be careful about any moves, especially if they become a AAA ball club again. They'll have crazy attendance again. We already have AAA team in the Las Vegas A's.
Well, they're not going to be a AAA team because they've got all these high-moneyed veteran guys that are going to probably have bounce-back seasons. But sadly, what division are they in, John?
Yeah, the
National League West.
Yeah.
Who's in the National League West?
Yeah, the LA Dodgers.
Look what happened. So this is going to be a challenge. I will tell you that they've got a load of kids in the farm system, all of them at Rookie League A or AA. I don't know that very many of them are ready for Major League Baseball anytime in 2024, but a year from now, we'll be talking probably about 3 or 4 of these guys ready to make the jump if they have a good season when they make the jump into AA or maybe even going to AAA El Paso. But that's a year down road.
But I think they're going to fast forward guys like Jackson Merrill. I mean, they've got holes. They've got young guys. They're going to make the major league minimum. That might be the formula.
But what happens if you fast forward Jackson Merrill or you even push the envelope on Ethan Salas and they come up here and hit 144 because they're not ready? That's not good.
Well, they're not going to do that with Salas yet. I mean, they got Campusano with a lot of
Right.
upside, but Merrill is a guy that can plug some holes. You can put him in the outfield. You can move some guys around, and he's a shortstop. He's versatile.
Fire us a question on Fans Forum, John. Where do you want to go next?
Okay, let's go to Manny, another Padre comment. He goes, Padre fans, who is the undisputed leader of the San Diego clubhouse? Was Soto gone? Is it Manny or Tatis?
Mike Schilt.
Aha.
Period, exclamation point. My team, my dugout, my clubhouse, this is how we're going to do it. He's a roster builder. He's a chemistry builder. I took part in 2 of his press conferences. Very impressed with his sales pitch and his ideology. And by the way, there's a track record resume there that's pretty doggone impressive. And I think based on how bad it was with Bob Melvin, whether it was top-level interference down below or the players just not listening to them because, see my paycheck, I don't have to listen to you. Look at the back of my bleeping baseball card. I think it'll be different this year because there's a bitter taste in everybody's mouth. And so I think these players will respond differently because Mike Schilt is going to mandate they respond differently. It'd be fabulous to see what this focus is going to be like. But who's the leader? The manager.
Yeah, Schilt so far, it looks promising. But you still need leaders amongst the players.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, like when they signed Will Myers to be a leader, and that was a disaster. Questionable if Machado is that guy. Tatis certainly isn't. He's too young. Musgrove certainly on the pitching staff can be that guy.
But that's a pitcher, and you normally don't get leadership from a, quote, pitcher.
So it really is incumbent on Manny to be the man. And sometimes people still think he's a bad chemistry problem What's your take on that?
I think Manny is a really good player. I think the game comes really easy to him. But is Manny a loud voice in the clubhouse? Times I've been down there, no, I don't sense that at all. He really had a substandard season because he got dinged, and now he's got the surgery, and he might not be there opening day at third base. Maybe he's your DH, or maybe he even winds up being a first baseman. But I don't think they got a persona leader in the clubhouse that you can say, this is the guy who picks up the flag, follow me.
Well, that was Nelson Cruz. Or at least that was
supposed to be. No can do when you hit 181.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, moving on. Let's go here to Callan Max Sports. He says, what will happen with the non-football programs at Oregon State and Washington State after the 2-year alliance with the West Coast Conference?
Well, remember, everything has been couched in a 2-year agreement. This big money deal, the scheduling alliance in Mountain West football, the 2-year West Coast Conference alliance. By the end of 2025, there will be something new on the West Coast, whether it's the entire Mountain West going there or whether it's the top 6 being bought out of the Mountain West to join. There will be a new conference, and then I think whatever those schools will be, there'll be 8. There has to be 8 now because the NCAA just reconfirmed you will not be considered for the postseason college football playoffs unless you're an 8-team conference effective in 2026.
Mm-hmm.
So there will be at least 8 in the conference, and that 8 would then encompass basketball, would encompass baseball, and all the other Olympic sports.
Yeah, I mean, that's the right thing to do, and then it's still somewhat regional. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
Let's go here to some social media comments. And let's go here. This is talking about the coach. This is from Buddy. He says, Coach Kentera has forgotten more about sports than Ben and Woods will ever know. Coach wasn't an AJ Preller sycophant apologist like Ben Woods. He would point out the retreads. AJ Preller signed for 2023. Adam Engel, David Dahl, Ben Gamble, Brandon Dixon, 43-year-old Nelson Cruz, Matt Carpenter, Rufnet Odor, Rich Hill, and Fat Man Choi.
You want to borrow the pen, sign his memo? I agree wholeheartedly. And it's not to say that AJ hasn't done a good job in terms of bidding and signing international free agents, overpaying for everybody. He's done a good job in that area. But at the end of the day, the scoreboard does not lie. If you're failing to go deep in the playoffs, I mean, as much as I like AJ, back of his baseball card says we've had 3 months of really good baseball. 2 years ago, when we forged our way into the playoffs, electrified the community, and beat the Dodgers. So that's 3 months out of 9 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that a big accomplishment? Everybody in the media does their job the way they think the job should be done. Hacksaw has opinions. Coach has opinions. The morning show at the Fan does what they are told to do or what they think's important, which is not my cup of tea. The beat writers are really cool guys. Kevin Acee wrote a phenomenal volume piece on Mike Schilt in the UT the other day. Jeff Sanders does a great job with the minor leagues. AJ Cassavell, MLB.com. Dennis Lynn really got insiders' viewpoints on things in the Athletics. So all the guys in the media come at it from a very, very different angle. But I'm entitled to my opinion, and I raise my hand when I express an opinion, and the coach did too. So we'll see what this year's like. But I'm sorry. My scoreboard says back of his baseball card, Preller's baseball card, 3 months of great baseball in 9 years. If I'm wrong, you can email me, go to my website. My email address is on the website. Feel free to pile on. But don't argue with me because I'm a talk show host. I know what I'm talking about. John responds.
Well, Preller has made more good deals than bad. And a lot of times, he signs these players like Soto and they have a down year or they're sputtering. So, I still have faith in Preller. But I want to talk about the coach because it's a common response in social media that a lot of people would love to see the coach as a guest on that Lee Hacksaw Hamilton podcast.
We're working on that, and John has an offer to come be part of this, co-host it, fix this freaking thing. And he said he will as he tries to get it into his schedule. Let's do one more social media before we put a lid on this.
Before we put a lid on it, let's go here and let's talk a little bit about the Chargers and Pete Carroll. And this is from Jackie. He says, grown up just outside LA, been a Seahawks fan since Pete left SC. If Pete goes to the Chargers, he will rekindle an LA fan base to support the Chargers. If they choose Harbaugh, I will become a Rams fan, no question.
Well, there's Pete's accomplishments in the NFL, which are absolutely phenomenal. I mean, he walked into a Seattle situation. I had done the Seahawks for a couple of years during the Holmgren era, and they had a great run, and then things changed, and Mike left and went to Cleveland, and Pete came on board, and boy, what an accomplishment he did. He still got fire in his gut. He's the only 72-year-old I know that is really 52 years at heart.
Incredible.
And his work ethic is just absolutely phenomenal. So I don't think they can go wrong with either one of those. I think Harbaugh obviously accomplished a lot in San Francisco, has accomplished amazing things in Michigan, but I'm a Pete Carroll fan too. I'll be fascinated to see who they wind up with. And if they don't wind up with either one, then it's Spanos chargering again.
I'm starting to think more about Pete Carroll might be the better choice because, like you say, wherever Harbaugh goes, there's a dust cloud and a lot of challenges and problems. But just sort of, recreating that vibe, that Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart, SC vibe in the early part of this century, I think that could get the fan base fired up.
And you got Justin Herbert. And what is stapled to Pete Carroll's driver's license? Defense, baby.
Yeah, there you go. That's what they need.
End of conversation. Hey, listen, we